The Citizen Mike Show. News. Commentary. Interviews. The Citizen Mike Show starts now.
Welcome to the Citizen Mike Show. Thanks for tuning in. We do appreciate it. My name is Mike Burdinsky, and this is the opener for the fall season 2019. Our regular viewers are used to seeing on my right Ralph Tomaselli, the editor of the Record Journal. Unfortunately, due to demands of his paper, he's got to work day and night. He has left the show, and we will miss him immensely, but we are going to forge ahead with our programming. And this fall, we are going to be featuring non-incumbent candidates to the Wallingford Town Council. You may remember 2 years ago, during the last election cycle, we featured Board of Ed non-incumbent candidates. Well, this time it's the Town Council. The ground rules for our chats are this. I have sent out the topics to the four candidates, more than a month ago. Not the questions, but the topics. They know, generally speaking, the topic that we're going to be talking about, and I encourage them to think about it, research, ask around, and develop their thoughts. We have given them a very tight time limit, about 20 to 25 minutes, so they got to be pithy, get to the heart of the matter, and we may not get to all the topics because they are broad. Our first guest, he is a Democrat seeking for the first time a seat on the Wallingford Town Council, Jeff Cohan. Jeff, thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you, Citizen Mike. Good to be here. First time.
Okay, good. Appreciate it. So the other thing I asked all the candidates to do is send me a few sentences about themselves that I can read. So this is their words that I'm reading to sort of introduce them to you, our viewers. He writes, I'd like to introduce Jeff Cohan. Jeff, there you go. First-time candidate running for town council. He has a long record of community and public service and is currently serving his second 5-year term on the Planning and Zoning Commission. He was an information technology exec with Aetna and IBM. He's currently retired and has more time for running and nature photography. His Facebook page can be found at Jeff Cohan for Wallingford Town Council. Good opening. Let's get to business. Got it?
Sounds good.
So one of the topics that we said we wanted to talk about was a school renovation project. Our regular viewers, know about this. We don't have to recreate the wheel from scratch. The Board of Ed has been working on a plan that presents three options, or has presented three options for school renovations. They run from the maybe under 20 million all the way up to about 117 million. A survey was sent out. And the Board of Ed has said, both on their website in writing, and also various board members have said, they want to present these options to the town council and get the council to back more spending for a more in-depth study. I don't know where that stands right now. We're going to be looking into that. But if that happens, you're on the town council, you've been elected, and up they come. How do you handle that?
I'm going to answer this a couple ways. In my career, I dealt with a lot of complex problems, so I always asked a lot of questions of, issues like this that came up. I'm not really a politician, although running for town council, you're going into politics.
You are now, young man.
I can answer it as a politician. I can answer it as, my personal answer. So I'm going to answer it as a politician first. And the questions I'd be asking, and I watched the survey. I listened to the survey on, the YouTube, and saw the results. And some of the questions that I would be asking is, what is the best option for education? Is it the renovation? Is it the one high school? Tell me, in your professional opinion, Dr. Menzo, what is the best option for the kids in getting an education?
And you think you're going to get a clean, clear, crisp answer?
I hope so, because, I feel that is his professional responsibility. And, again, dealing with problems in my professional career, I would be going out asking other schools, Cheshire is going through this as well right now. They're doing a study with, people involved. I would be asking Southington, changed years ago to one large high school. What has impacted, the students for the best educational purposes that other towns have done?
Okay. And let's say you get an answer, and let's say the answer is, oh, the most expensive option, the $117 million plus 3% inflation cost until the project gets going, and that is the answer. Now, where do you go?
So the second question I would be asking
Okay.
is, what is the projected cost of the renovation of the two schools? Make the trade-off between the difference in prices and costs. And
I got to back up. I'm not sure I get that. I mean, they have about $117 million for the most expensive option.
Right.
Does that answer that component of your concern?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That's the best number they can come up with right now. I mean, it's clearly a rough.
You subtract the two numbers, and you're going to have to make a professional decision on, is that extra cost worth the educational benefit? And I'll answer this kind of as a politician, as a person that resides in the town. I think we need to go with, the best option that supports the education program.
So you're in. You're all in. $117 million.
Yeah, because
Okay.
the education impacts a lot of things in Wallingford. Home values, economic development, attracting new people to town. So I want to go with the best option.
And what do you tell the taxpayers, if anything? I mean, you kind of explained it, but do you have to waffle a little bit when you actually get up there and there's a room full of angry taxpayers that don't want to spend the bonding money? What do you do?
I would explain the future benefits of having the best option available.
Which benefits have never been carefully explained, unless you saw something that I didn't see?
Well,
I mean, I
I
followed this, and there was an architect up there, and he was an architect, not an education professional, who was saying 21st century teaching techniques. And we asked a Sheehan High School teacher who is retiring on a prior show, and we asked a board member on a prior show. Each had trouble explaining what the educational benefits were. What did you see that I didn't see?
So I'm going to add a little controversy to your show.
There we go.
Okay.
We love that.
Because, Wallingford has a decent school system, but we're not at the level of Cheshire. We're not at the level of Southington. We're not at the level of Woodbridge. And we need to do better.
Okay.
And I, as a taxpayer, even though I have no skin in the game because my kids are all gone now, I think for the future of, this town and the students, that's what we have to do. We have to strive for the best.
Let's make that the final word on that topic, because we got some others. One of the topics that we wanted to talk about is be a topic of your choice. Every candidate can bring up a topic of their own choice. Be interesting to see what they come up with and what the topic is and how well they can defend it. So the topic of your choice for this episode of the Sis and Mike Show is, roll the drums, da-da-da.
My topic is, of course, why am I running for town council?
Okay.
I never even ran for student council in school. I had no interest. But, being a taxpayer, being involved in inland wetlands, zoning board of appeals, planning and zoning, I've seen how the town is run. I've seen how it works. And I haven't been 100% happy as, a tax-paying resident. Really, I think what motivated me was having constant 20-year-plus tax increases, as well as an overinflated rainy day fund. So, those couple of things really spurred me to want to run. I live on the north side of town, over near Barnes Industrial Park. I drive up Barnes Road every day to go out for a run or do some photography. Every single building has a for sale or for lease sign. I was in Celebrate Wallingford over the weekend, and I've walked lower downtown. There's so many empty storefronts. And been on the Planning and Zoning. I've attended some of the Economic Development Commission meetings. There's things the town needs to do. The town needs to spend a little money. I don't know how much time we have, but
Keep going. I'll let you know.
the major thing I see is we need professional help to, put plans in place. We need a full-time economic development specialist, not a part-time. We need an urban planner. We're really, a city now with the transit-oriented district and the train. We need somebody who knows how to plan this out. We had a meeting last night where we talked about some of the zoning regulation changes we're going to do. And we had some good input there. Some of these changes are going to help overall put, plans in place. But we need to spend some money.
I need to get a word in edgewise here, and I think you knew this question was coming. Okay, that's nice. But you're on the council. You're not the mayor. The mayor has his budget. If you have, history seems to say, if you have some changes around the margins, a little tinkering of $25,000 here, $10,000 there, he'll let that go. But if it's a major structural change, he calls out the troops. And right now, there's more Republicans than there are Democrats on the council. So what specific action, given that backdrop, that context, what specific action do you do? When do you do it? And be specific.
We have this nice document. It's called, that I worked on. It's called the Plan of Conservation and Development, POCD, which details the exact steps we need to do. And if I get on the council, and I'm hoping I get on the council, I will force an agenda item every council meeting or once a month talking about economic development. POCD talks about the town council implementing a commission that's going to be managed by the Economic Development Commission to, focus on, doing some of the things I've already spoken about.
Talking about the implementation committee?
Yes.
Okay.
And it's directly spelled out in the POCD.
But let me back up. Here you are. Let's say I'm making this up. Obviously, you're in your fifth town council meeting, and you decide it's time to strike, right? Because you only have a certain amount of time, only 2 years, and so you make a motion. What does it say? What does that motion say? To fire who we have now, as far as economic development or the business recruiter, and to hire someone else? I mean, is that the motion?
No, it's really going to be
Yep.
the motion I'll make is to just get this commentary on the agenda to discuss these ideas, and that's what we need to do. I'm not going to fire anybody. I think the Economic Development Commission and the part-time person do a good job. We need an additional staff member with a little more urban planning experience to help us determine what we're going
I
to
want to fast forward again because I want to get to another topic. So it's budget workshop time, coming up in May, and you're up there and you're remembering back about the motion you made about getting the Plan of Conservation and Development on the agenda for discussion, but now it's time to fish or cut bait. So are you saying that you make the motion to add $170,000 for salary plus benefits to the budget for a new position? Is that where you go?
Yes.
Okay.
Where am I going to get that money?
You're going to have to defend that when you get up
Yeah.
there because they're going to fight you tooth and nail.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
What do we have? $27 million in our rainy day fund collecting, 1.5% interest. $170,000 is going to give us way more payback than that $27 million.
And by the way, that's my number. I just pulled that out of the air because I didn't know where you were. I'm just making that up. But to get someone qualified,
No, that's,
you know,
that's
you
about
may
right.
have to- okay.
You know, with salary and benefits.
Yeah.
When I was in planning and zoning, I attended a meeting in Hartford a couple of years ago, the first term, and there was a woman from, you know, the federal government who came in and gave a tremendous talk on urban planning. And I'm thinking to myself, why don't we take her, you know, experience and expertise and utilize this? You know, how do we, you know, utilize those facts?
Well, I got to be the devil's advocate. So right now you have, you know, staff that you have a town planner.
Yeah, and Casey Hand does a great job. However, you know, we're busy. She's very busy. We have a part-time, and I don't even know. We have a part-time assistant zoning enforcement
yeah.
officer. But geez, I haven't seen her, so maybe we don't. Maybe, but you know, she's so busy that she really doesn't have time to do the, you know, broad planning that we need.
We're melding, which is absolutely 100% fine, another topic, economic development, with why I'm running, which is perfectly fine.
Yeah.
So I want to sort of broaden my question a little bit. So you get a professional town planner that's up to your standards. What do you want this town planner to do? How's that town planner going to move the needle on the grand list? What specific measures is this person going to do? And no fair saying magic wand. You can't use the magic wand argument. I mean, what are your expectations?
My expectations for this, you know, new person would be a concrete project plan to tell us how we're gonna, you know, work the area around the train station. What kind of businesses in other areas have been successful? I brought this up last night as well. You know, we need to visit some of these towns that have done this and gain that experience and expertise. So again, the project planner will be to put the ideas in place, go to trade shows, and that came up last night as well. You know, are we going to the right trade show?
Why go to any trade shows at all?
From my IT background, that is where I personally got a lot of ideas. A lot of people, and I sent all my people to conferences and things. A lot of people would say, oh, those are boondoggles, paid vacation. But you know what? You bring back one little piece of, you know, fantastic knowledge that pays for everything. And in my professional experience, it did many times over. I always brought something back.
Let's suppose the Jeff Cohan Democrat for Wallingford Town Council campaign succeeds, and you're on there for 10 years, and you get all these agenda items on there, and somehow the makeup of the mayor's office and the town council flips, and you get to do this, to hire a urban planner. Mm-hmm. What does a town look like after 10 years? You've had 10 years of your way, you know, doing it the Cohan way. What's the town look like? And what's the basis for that assumption? You know,
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I don't know. I often say, I don't know. And I'm not going to make something up if I don't know. But what I will say is I would expect that we'd have some type of, you know, nice gateway from the train station to lower downtown. I think the lower downtown would have fuller storefronts, potentially some new buildings there, depending on if we can get, you know, some folks to sell some of those buildings. One of the things that came up last night is
and this
right
was
now,
a workshop of the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Yes.
When you say last night, that's the meeting you're referring to.
Yeah,
I just
exactly.
wanted to clarify.
You know, I said we really need to, you know, beautify the lower downtown at this point to attract some more businesses there. And, you know, that we can, you know, get grants to do that. And we need to do that. And I think by making lower downtown a little more attractive, we'll get some more businesses down there to start with.
Let's make that the last word on that topic.
Okay.
I want to get to community pool quickly. The story of the community pool is largely written. I mean, it's pretty much over. The die is cast. We know where we're going. We know the price. We know the design. We know the sign. We know pretty much everything. If you were on the town council while the story of the new rebuilt community pool was unfolding, would you have done anything differently
Yes.
than the present council? What would you have done?
Yes, I attended the council meeting when they discussed and moved this forward. Well, number one, the biggest thing was adding a couple of lanes, lap lanes.
Well, what would you have done if you were sitting there instead of somebody else on the council?
I would have said we need, 2 additional lap lanes. People talked about doing this right,
Well, a couple people kind of said that, but
but they didn't follow through.
well, how would you have followed through?
Well, I would have approached the project a little different to begin with. I would have gone out and looked at some sites myself, personally. We did that in my professional career. We visited clients.
Pools. You're talking about swimming pools.
Yeah, I would have visited West Hartford. I would have visited Cheshire to see for myself what they've done and see, what they had. But if I was on the town council, basically what I would have said was, we need to have another recommendation, another plan, and I think they actually did, saying, let's add the 2 extra lanes. How much is it going to cost? And come back with another plan.
I watched that. I didn't see a vote. Some people made some casual remarks about
They
how
were
they would
casual.
like to see 2 extra lap lanes.
Yeah, they
and
were
they're,
casual.
They're kind of yesed to death. Oh yeah, we can think about that. No one made a motion. No one forced the vote to get the price of 2 lap lanes. I think you're saying, but if Jeff Cohan was there,
The
I don't want to
biggest
put words in your mouth,
the
but
biggest issue that I would have objected to, when somebody on the council actually brought this up, I give them credit, I forget who it was. Designer was given a $5 million number. Somebody questioned, where did you get that number? I would have questioned that number to, have those extra lap lanes. That seemed to be the biggest issue in that whole plan. But I would have questioned where that $5 million came from, and I would have asked the designer, what do your other pools have?
we got to bring this conversation to a close because we're running out of time. However, spoiler alert, keep watching the Citizen Mike Show because in November, we're going to do a very, 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 very deep dive into some of the things that you're raising with video clips that maybe give evidence that answers some of your questions. Not prepared to do it until after the election, and we'll just see where that goes, and interested to get your thoughts after that. But thanks for coming on the Citizen Mike Show. You're a good sport, very brave soul. Citizen Mike Show isn't for everyone. I mean, I got to say, we invited the Democratic mayoral candidate, Jared Liu, to come on the show. He declined our invitation, but the challengers are coming on, which is sort of very interesting. Thanks. Good luck on the trail.
Thank you.
We will be right back with another candidate, Jamie Hine, who is a Democrat running for Wallingford Town Council. Don't go away. Our next guest on the Citizen Mike Show is another Democratic candidate for the Wallingford Town Council. He's been on the Citizen Mike Show, I think, a couple times in the past. Jamie Hine. Jamie, thanks for coming on the Citizen Mike Show again.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, this time you're coming on as a candidate. You have provided the Citizen Mike Show with a couple of sentences that I can read to introduce you to our viewers that may not know you. I'm going to put my glasses on to make sure I don't slur my words. I would like to introduce Democratic candidate for Town Council, Jamie Hine. Jamie is a partner in the law firm of Mulvey, Oliver, Gould, and Crota. He currently serves on the Wallingford Planning and Zoning Commission and previously served on the Wallingford Zoning Board of Appeals. If you'd like to learn a little more about him, you can visit his website at jamiehine.com or his Facebook page at Jamie Hine for Council. That's Jaime. I just wanted to spell that because phonetically it may not, Yeah. So we got topics for you. You know that. You've got these topics probably 5 or 6 weeks ago. We're going to try to get to them all. No guarantee that we do that, but I want to get to the school renovation project first. What's your stand on that? And as we asked Jeff Cohan, just imagine yourself elected to the Wallingford Town Council, and the Board of Ed now comes in front of you looking for permission or authorization to spend more money to do a deeper study into an option that they want you to pick. They have three options that they sent surveys out on. Maybe something less than 20 million, all the way up to 117 million. We know what they are, but there you are. How do you handle that?
Start by saying that I think a good education system is essential to the success of any town, any community. And so when somebody is coming to me wanting to spend money on an education project, my first question is, how does this improve the education of our students?
Have you gotten an answer to that so far?
I have not. I've watched all the meetings, and surprisingly, I feel like we're halfway down the road of improving the buildings, which, you know, to be honest, I would love to say, let's do it. But I have to be convinced that it's going to improve the students' education.
Well,
And I feel as though that issue has gotten lost here.
so how do you resurrect?
You asked the question.
How do you fertilize that issue? Okay,
I think that when they come before you, the first question has got to be, how does this improve the education of our students?
what do you think they're going to say? They got to have an answer. I mean, they watch the Citizen Mike show religiously. I mean, rhetorically, we've asked it.
I would certainly hope they would have an answer.
Okay.
But I have not heard one yet. I have not even heard the subject be brought up yet.
Right.
And to me, that's the essential question, because what makes a good education are the people in the buildings, not the buildings themselves.
So let's suppose that when you ask the question, you get the same descriptions of educational improvement that have been offered in the past. One was by Dave Stein, the architect, in one of the initial observations, and other very short, minor, they can walk around the classrooms better or something. Let's say that's all you get, maybe a little more embellished. Maybe it takes, instead of 10 minutes, 15 minutes, but that's what you get. Now, where do you go with that information? How do you handle this now?
Well, that to me, if it's that you can get from a classroom to a classroom easier,
No, you can walk around the inside of a classroom easier or something like that. I mean,
that's not sufficient. That would not be a sufficient basis for spending, at least in my opinion, for spending anywhere from $100 to $120 million.
Well, let's make it realistic here. You got elected to the council, and so did Jeff Cohan. Jeff Cohan makes a motion. I move that we endorse the $117 million plan and authorize another, thousands, for a further study, because that's the next step the Board of Ed wants. But they want you to pick. They want you to pick an option, and then so they can study that in more detail. Motion's made, motion seconded. There you are. What do you do?
If I am not provided with a better...
You're not. That was the hypothetical. You just get a little more than what you got, but not much more. It's a little more embellished, but...
The unfortunate thing is I would vote no on that, despite the fact that I would love to support the renovations of the building. I need to be convinced.
Okay.
And I need, as an attorney,
Yeah.
what do you work on? You work on evidence, right? You ask the questions, you listen to what the answers are, you look for the information, you look for the evidence, and that's what you base your decision on.
So-
and if the evidence is that flimsy,
So let me throw this out as additional context. We would think, I think you and I would agree with this, we would think that before the survey was sent out by the Board of Education, all the evidence would be out, otherwise the survey is premature, right? If they say, well, we're withholding our key evidence, and they shouldn't have sent the survey out. So by sending out the survey and including some information in the survey, you would think that's the package of information. If they're asking residents to make up their mind and vote on the survey, there isn't much more coming than that, or else the whole survey was just a sham and premature. So, that's the context I'm coming from. The Board of Ed members have said we want the council to make a decision in the fall, like right around now. They've said that for a long, long time, yet there's not any additional informational programs put together. I'm taking too much of your time, and I'm going to shut up in a minute. But let's say that's the state of the record. You're a no vote.
I'm a no vote on that.
Okay. Economic development. Ready to switch over to that?
Sure.
In your website, I think you spent a considerable amount of time on economic development, and I guess my question would be, what do you want the town council to do, not the town to do? You're a councilor. Not a lot of prerogatives. What do you want the town council to do that they haven't already done?
I think that the town council has to start really putting a focus on economic development, particularly in our lower downtown area. We have a new train station there. On the Planning and Zoning Commission, we are talking about a transit-oriented district and how we can take advantage of that train station and the development at Parker Place. The town council has tried different things down there. There's an incentive housing zone. There's tax breaks for renovation projects. None of that has worked. We need to start thinking outside the box. I think we need to start taking some bold steps.
So along comes Jamie Hine. He's elected to the town council. We placed him right next to Craig Fishbein. I can see the lineup right there. What bold step do you take?
My suggestion is this. We have $26 million sitting in a surplus, a rainy day fund. The last few budget seasons, the state has looked at this $26 million and said, geez, maybe we're giving Wallingford a little bit too much money. They're putting all this money away. Now, whether you agree with that or not, that's the reality of the situation. What I think we can start doing is, as some of these properties in the lower downtown come up for sale, we can use some of that $26 million in the short term to purchase these properties and accumulate them, because the biggest problem in the lower downtown area is that the parcels are too small, and developers can't make money on small parcels. They want a large parcel to develop so they can make money. If the town started purchasing some of these small properties as they came up for sale, I'm not talking about eminent domain, I'm talking about as the properties come up for sale, you purchase them with the 26 million. You, in the short term, reduce that figure and protect it from the state. You start to accumulate these properties. You then market them back to a developer. You sell it to the developer. You make your money back, presumably. And little by little, what you start to see is some redevelopment down there, revitalization, especially around the train station.
So I wrote down in my notes so I don't forget it, little by little. I want to come back to that. But let's take a hypothetical that is based on true events, ripped from the headlines, because it never makes the newspapers, where a property does become available. And now I'm making this up to illustrate a point, but it's based on true events. And the owner of that property, sure, I'll sell it, Wallingford, but I want 150% of appraised value. I want 150%. How do you approach that? Do you say, we'll buy it, and then raise the price of all parcels because you let it be known that, word leaks out, you're paying at a premium? Is that the Jamie Hine plan?
It depends.
Okay. I love those answers. Go ahead. On what?
Well, it depends on what the situation is. So, for example, the town actually, I think, did do a good job on the Brothers property. Okay. What they did is they waited for that property to go into foreclosure, right?
I want you to get back to my hypothetical, though. You can't pivot out of this by pointing to Brothers. Yeah.
So when an owner says, well, I want, a ridiculous amount of money, then you take a look at what that situation is. If it's a situation where you can wait it out, then maybe you have to wait it out. If the person is good financial situation, and this is the first property that you're looking to
No,
purchase.
here's a person who likes his shop and he's sort of happy, but he heard that there are now 5 votes on the town council to buy properties at a premium. So he sends a little note to the mayor and says, "We'll both do an appraisal and we'll both agree on the appraiser, and then I want a 50% premium." The mayor takes it to the council in executive session. No one hears about this. I mean, it doesn't have to be that way, but that's the way it works. And they're not in financial distress. It's not a unique situation like Brothers, but it's a little by little. And if you're, doing it little by little, here's the little. This is the first little. Do you pay that or do you pass on it?
I think you pay it.
Okay.
And I'm sure a lot of people would not like to hear that, but I think you have to get the ball rolling.
Okay.
We have tried tax breaks. We have tried the what I would refer to as half measures, and they have not worked. We need to be bold, because the benefit of doing something like that is that you end up getting experiencing a revitalization down there, and over the long term, you now have properties that are providing tax revenue.
And you take the purchase price out of the rainy day fund.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's move on to another subject because the clock is going tick, tick, tick. We offered you to present a topic of your choice. What did you pick?
I picked the CMAQ litigation that resolved earlier this year.
What about that did you want to share with our viewers?
There were a number of things, and it was really, in some respects, frustrating to me as to how the town council did not take this up without prodding from myself. Just to give some background, the town purchased its electricity through CMAQ from about 2004 to 2013. In 2013, the town says, okay, we're going to terminate this agreement, and we're going to go out and purchase electricity on our own. When they started reviewing some of the paperwork, they determined that they were being overcharged during that 9-year period. It took them 9 years to realize that they were being overcharged. And that in and of itself is a problem. If you can't figure out over a 9-year period that you're being overcharged, somebody was asleep at the wheel. And I think that's incumbent upon the town council in their oversight responsibility to take a look at that final arbitrator's decision and call in the PUC and find out what was going on during this period.
Eventually, there was some sort of a discussion a couple meetings ago, I think.
Yes.
Why didn't that meeting meet your expectation that you just described? Why wasn't that meeting good enough? Or maybe it was. I mean, say so, obviously.
One is that meeting never would have occurred had I not gone there 2 or 3 times and requested that it be placed on an agenda item. And in fact, I received a lot of pushback by both the mayor, the town attorney.
Wait a minute, I got to stop you there.
Yeah.
What does pushback look like? Ding-a-ling-a-ling. Hi, Jamie. This is Mayor Dickinson. Is that what pushback looks like?
No.
Back off on your request, please?
No,
What
in
does it
fact,
look like?
the town attorney had told me that I was raising this as kind of a political stunt.
Oh, okay.
He accused me of raising it as
That
a
kind of
political
pushback.
stunt,
Okay.
which was unfortunate because I think it's a real issue, a legitimate issue, and something that should have been raised much earlier. Because one of the other things that I think is important to point out with respect to that litigation is that the town had initially said that, or estimated that we're going to receive $18 to $20 million as a result of the arbitration. We ended up receiving a lump sum of $3.67 million. We paid $2.85 million in attorney's fees to achieve that result. So that leaves an $800,000 difference. Well, what's interesting is that $750,000 of that $3.67 million award was interest. If you back out that interest, it ends up being a wash.
Yeah, we're going to run out of time on this topic, but supposing you were on the council 2012, 13, 14, 15, 16, so on, up to the present time, from before the arbitration started to when it started. For a while, the public officials and the PUC were giving quotes to the paper, then they went dark and no one would say anything, up until the present time when sort of under pressure the council put it on the agenda, and that'll be some commentary for another meeting, for another Citizen Mike Show episode. But if you were on the council, how would things have been any different? Back then, back in 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, just hold a meeting after it's all over and just a better meeting maybe, but that's it?
I think they had these discussions in executive session. So presumably anything that I would have raised would have been in executive session.
Why? Why executive session?
Because
I didn't know we were going to take this turn in our conversation, but it's part of the.
but that's what they did.
It's part of the history of it.
That's what they did, and the claim was that it was pending litigation, and which is an exception to.
No, it's not. It has to be strategy and negotiations with respect to pending litigation.
I don't disagree with you.
Yeah, but you listen to Vinnie Cervoni and some of the other anything to do with pending litigation, we've got to be secretive about it. But no, that's not. I just couldn't let that go.
No.
One of my hot buttons.
No,
if you watch Citizen Mike.
I don't disagree with you. But what I would have raised is, how did you learn? How did it come about that you learned that we were being overcharged? One.
Yeah.
And as it turns out, the arbitrator actually determined that we weren't being overcharged, which raises another question, which is, how did we misinterpret our own contract?
Yeah.
Two, why did it take so long? And three, what are we doing to make sure that this doesn't happen again? Because this was multi-million dollars worth, difference in the outcome here.
Let's make that the final word on that topic. And you got just a couple of minutes to review the community pool decision. Do you have any thoughts about how the decision to go forward with the community pool has been handled so far? If you were on the council, would anything have been different, either specific action or emphasis?
I have to be somewhat careful because this will come before planning and zoning.
Okay.
So I do think you have to be somewhat careful as to what, how.
That didn't occur to me when this was, is that something you want to just pass on?
No,
Yeah, okay.
I think there's certain things that I can say that touch on how it was handled from the town council perspective.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that I was surprised nobody asked that I would have been interested in is how much of this can be done by Public Works. So, for example, one of the alternatives was repaving the parking lot at a cost of $200,000. Now, that's not included in the basic plan that
Well,
was
in the interest of
approved.
time, I'm going to answer that question for you because I can see it. I can see the answer to that question.
Yeah.
You get Rob Baltramitis, the new, director of Public Works, who says we don't have time.
Yeah.
And because they talk to the mayor and department heads talk in advance. Everyone knows what the answer is going to be. He said we don't have time. Now where do you go?
That would answer my question. But I think that raises a whole nother question, which is, are we properly funding our public works department and properly staffing our public works department?
But I don't want to pivot away from the pool.
Yeah.
There was a couple meetings or 3 meetings really, which led to the final decision to go forward with this, with this pool. Any problems with how that was handled so far, or did the council handle it well?
I thought they did a decent job.
Okay.
I will say I thought they spent a good amount of time on it, and they asked some good questions. I personally, I don't know. A couple years ago, I went to a park called Wolf Park in Monroe. And that park was just amazing because it had everything that you would want to have in one park, in one spot, and you could bring your family and spend a day there.
Well, they're trying to make it sort of like that, I think.
And that's when you take a look at what they're trying to do here, I think they're getting to that point. But, I think if they're going to do it, let's do it right. So,
Well, does that include paying a couple $100,000 more for 2 more lap lanes? I need a real quick answer on that.
No.
No.
I don't think I'd be in favor of that. But if we're talking spending that kind of money on a playground,
Yeah.
I think
You'd be open to it.
I think I'd be open to that.
Let's make that the final word because we have run out of time. I want to thank you again for coming on the Citizen Mike Show. We appreciate it. We had a lot of fun. I want to thank Jeff Cohan also on the segment earlier for coming on the Citizen Mike Show. Good luck on the campaign trail.
Thank you.
And thank you, viewers. Thank you for tuning in. We do appreciate it. In a couple days, the show will be up on YouTube. I can send you the link directly by email if you let me know you want me to send you the link. Get a hold of me through the station. Call me on the phone. If you have my other email address, my civilian email address, let me know you want a link. We can send it, the link to the show, or go to YouTube, search the Citizen Mike Wallingford channel. It'll pop up. Or it's on WPAA TV on Thursday, Friday, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday nights at 9 p.m. Hey, if it's 9 at night, it's Citizen Mike. Good night, everybody. Thanks for tuning in.